The Unraveling Truth. The first light of dawn was breaking over London when Alex finally looked up from the scattered documents covering her dining table. Her eyes burned with exhaustion, but her mind was racing with a clarity born of desperation and fury. "We have to go to Detective Okonkwo," Sophie said, rubbing her own tired eyes. "Now, before Victoria has time to solidify whatever evidence she's fabricated." Marcus stood at the window, his jaw tight as he stared out at the awakening city. "If I turn myself in, they'll arrest me immediately. The warrant's already been issued." "Then we don't let you turn yourself in," Alex said firmly. She rose from her chair, moving to stand beside him. "We go together, with everything we've found, and we force Okonkwo to see the pattern. Victoria made a mistake. She left breadcrumbs that connect back to her." Natasha looked up from her laptop where she'd been cross-referencing dates and locations. "The timing of Julia Hartwell's death is key. Victoria needed Julia gone before the truth about the malpractice case could surface. If we can prove Victoria was in London when Julia died—" "She was careful," Marcus interrupted, his voice hollow. "She's been planning this for 3 years. She won't have made it that easy." Alex took his hand, forcing him to look at her. "She made one crucial mistake. She let emotion drive her endgame. That message she sent, it was gloating, vindictive. She wanted me to know it was her, wanted me to suffer knowing who was destroying us. That arrogance is what will bring her down." Sophie's phone buzzed. She glanced at the screen and her expression shifted. "It's Detective Okonkwo. She wants to see you both immediately. She's sending a car." "Does she say why?" Marcus asked, tension radiating from every line of his body. "No, just that it's urgent and we shouldn't use our own vehicles." Sophie looked up, worry evident in her dark eyes. "Alex, what if Victoria's gotten to her somehow? What if this is a trap?" Alex felt the weight of the question settle over her. In the span of 48 hours, her entire sense of reality had been systematically dismantled. Trust had become a luxury she couldn't afford. But they had no choice. "We go," she said. "But we bring copies of everything we've found, and we record everything on our phones." 20 minutes later, an unmarked police car pulled up outside Alex's building. The driver was a young constable. Alex didn't recognize, but he knew the proper protocols and showed his warrant card without being asked. Still, she felt Marcus's tension beside her as they climbed into the back seat. The drive to Scotland Yard was silent. Alex watched the city slide past, early commuters heading to work, cafes opening their doors, the mundane rituals of normal life continuing while her world collapsed. She thought of Victoria Hartwell, wherever she was, believing she'd already won. Detective Okonkwo was waiting for them in an interview room, her expression grave. But she wasn't alone. Beside her sat a woman Alex had never seen before. Late 40s, with sharp features and intelligent gray eyes that assessed them both with professional detachment. "DCI Margaret Hayes," Okonkwo said by way of introduction. "Serious Crime Command. Please sit down." Alex felt her stomach drop. Serious Crime Command only got involved in major cases: murders, organized crime, corruption. She gripped Marcus's hand tighter as they sat. "Mr. Ashford," DCI Hayes began, her voice measured and calm, "you're aware there's a warrant for your arrest in connection with the death of Claire Morrison." Marcus's voice was steady when he replied, "I'm aware. I'm also aware the evidence against me has been fabricated by Victoria Hartwell as part of a 3-year campaign of revenge against Miss Morrison." Hayes's eyebrow lifted slightly. "Go on." For the next 40 minutes, Alex laid out everything they'd discovered. The malpractice case from 3 years ago. Julia Hartwell's connection to Victoria. The pattern of manipulation stretching back through Rebecca Chen, Emma Wright, and Sienna Vale. The timeline of threats that escalated precisely when Alex and Marcus's relationship became serious. Victoria's final taunting message that revealed her identity and motive. When Alex finished, Hayes and Okonkwo exchanged a long look. "We know," Okonkwo said quietly. Alex felt the words land like a physical blow. "You know? Not all of it." Hayes clarified. "But we've been investigating Victoria Hartwell for the past 6 hours since Detective Okonkwo brought certain irregularities in the evidence against Mr. Ashford to my attention." Marcus leaned forward. "What irregularities?" "The DNA evidence placing you at Claire Morrison's flat," Okonkwo said. "It was too perfect, too conveniently preserved after 2 years. Our forensics team flagged it immediately. The sample showed signs of recent collection and deliberate aging through chemical treatment. Alex felt hope flare in her chest. So it was planted. Almost certainly, Hayes confirmed. But that's not all. The witness statements claiming to have seen you in Edinburgh 2 years ago? 3 of them have the same IP address origin for their initial anonymous tips. And that IP address traces back to a coffee shop in Marylebone, 2 streets from where Victoria Hartwell lives. Then why did you issue the warrant? Marcus demanded, anger breaking through his controlled facade. Because we needed Victoria to think she'd succeeded, Hayes said. We've been monitoring her communications since midnight. She's been in contact with someone, we don't know who yet, making arrangements to leave the country. If we'd shown our hand too early, she would have vanished. Alex's mind was racing. Where is she now? That's why we brought you in, Okonkwo said. She's at Heathrow, Terminal 5. She has a flight to Dubai in 2 hours, and from there she planned to disappear into Southeast Asia. But we can't arrest her yet. We need her to lead us to her accomplice. What accomplice? Alex asked, though dread was already pooling in her stomach. Hayes pulled out a tablet and turned it to face them. On the screen was a series of text messages, the timestamps running from the previous night through to an hour ago. It's done. The warrant is issued. He'll be arrested within hours. Good. And Morrison? Destroyed. She knows it was me. She'll spend the rest of her career wondering if she can ever trust anyone again. Perfect. Meet me at the airport. We'll celebrate properly once we're clear. Who are you meeting? Alex whispered, though she thought she already knew. Hayes scrolled to the next message. I'll be there. Terminal 5, Gate 47. I can't wait to see the look on their faces when they realize we're gone. The sender's name appeared at the top of the conversation. Thomas Vale. The room seemed to tilt. Alex heard Marcus's sharp intake of breath beside her. Thomas? Marcus's voice was barely audible. Thomas is working with her? We believe he's been involved from the beginning, Okonkwo said gently. His sister Sienna's obsession with you provided the perfect cover. While everyone was focused on her psychiatric breakdown and revenge plot, Thomas was the one actually orchestrating events behind the scenes. But why? Alex managed. What did we ever do to Thomas? Hayes pulled up another file. Thomas Vale was engaged 6 years ago to a woman named Caroline Morrison. She broke off the engagement when she discovered he'd been unfaithful. Caroline Morrison is my cousin. Alex finished, the pieces finally clicking into place. I helped her leave him. I found her a solicitor when he tried to contest the return of the ring. I testified about his controlling behavior when he tried to sue her for breach of promise. He's been planning this for 6 years, Hayes confirmed, waiting for the right moment, the right tools. When his sister became obsessed with Mr. Ashford, he saw his opportunity. He connected with Victoria Hartwell after her mother's death. We believe through online forums for people seeking revenge against the legal system. They've been coordinating ever since. Marcus's hand was shaking in Alex's. He's been our friend for 5 years. He introduced me to Sienna. He was at every birthday, every celebration. He held Alex when she cried after Emma's arrest. Sociopaths are excellent actors, Hayes said, not unkindly, and patient ones are the most dangerous. Alex felt something cold and hard settle in her chest. What do you need from us? We need you to go to Heathrow, Okonkwo said. Both of you. We'll have armed officers throughout the terminal, but we need Thomas to see you, to believe you've come to confront them before they can escape. The moment he reveals any details about the conspiracy, anything we can use to prove his involvement, we move in. You want to use us as bait, Marcus said flatly. We want to give you the chance to face them, Hayes corrected. To hear the truth directly, and to ensure they both face justice for what they've done. Alex looked at Marcus. She saw her own exhaustion reflected in his face, the toll of weeks of terror and uncertainty. But she also saw something else, determination, rage, the need for this to finally end. We'll do it, she said. An hour later, Alex and Marcus walked through Terminal 5 at Heathrow Airport, surrounded by travelers and the constant announcements of departing flights. They'd been wired with nearly invisible microphones, and Alex knew that at least a dozen armed officers were positioned throughout the terminal, watching their every move. Gate 47 was in the International Departures Lounge. As they approached, Alex spotted Victoria Hartwell immediately, elegant in a cream-colored suit, her dark hair pulled back, looking nothing like the vengeful architect of their destruction. She was standing near the windows, and beside her, laughing at something she'd said, was Thomas Vale. Thomas saw them first. His smile faltered for just a moment before he recovered, but Alex caught it, that flash of surprise and calculation. "Alex? Marcus?" He moved toward them, confusion perfectly painted on his features. "What are you doing here?" "We could ask you the same question," Alex said, her voice steady despite the pounding of her heart. "Going somewhere, Thomas?" Victoria had turned now, and when she saw them, her composure cracked. Fear flashed across her face before she masked it with cold indifference. "You should have stayed away," Victoria said quietly. "This doesn't concern you anymore." "Doesn't concern us?" Marcus's voice was dangerous. "You framed me for murder. You've spent 3 years destroying Alex's life, and you..." He turned to Thomas, and Alex heard the betrayal in his voice. "You were my friend. I trusted you." Thomas's mask finally slipped. The friendly warmth that had always characterized his expression melted away, replaced by something cold and calculating. "Your trust was misplaced," Thomas said simply. "It always has been. You both walk through life taking whatever you want, destroying whoever gets in your way, and you never face consequences. Well, now you have." "I helped Caroline," Alex said. "I helped her escape an abusive relationship. That's what this is really about, isn't it? Your ego couldn't handle being rejected." "You turned her against me." Thomas's composure shattered completely. "We were happy until you poisoned her mind with your feminist bullshit about independence and self-worth. She was mine, and you took her away." "She was never yours," Alex said softly. "People aren't possessions, Thomas." Victoria moved closer to Thomas, her hand finding his. "They don't understand," she said. "They never will. People like them. They break lives and call it justice. They destroy families and call it law. My mother died believing she'd failed, believing the courts found her unworthy, and it was all because of her." She pointed at Alex, her hand shaking. "Your brilliant legal arguments, your cross-examination that made my mother look incompetent and vindictive. You didn't just win a case, you destroyed her spirit." "I defended my client," Alex said. "That's what barristers do. But I never. You never cared." Victoria's voice rose. "You never stopped to think about the real people on the other side of your victories. My mother wasn't a case file. She was a person who lost her daughter and then lost her dignity because you were so fucking good at your job." Alex felt the weight of those words. She'd never forgotten the Hartwell case. The mother's pain had been evident throughout the trial, but she'd done her job, defended the hospital, won the case. She'd never considered the aftermath for those she defeated. "I'm sorry," Alex said quietly. "I'm sorry for your loss, and I'm sorry if my victory caused your mother additional pain. But Victoria, destroying innocent people, framing Marcus for murder, manipulating vulnerable people like Emma and Sienna, that's not justice. That's just more pain, more destruction." "I don't want your apology," Victoria spat. "I want you to suffer like I suffered, like Thomas suffered, like everyone you've ever hurt has suffered." "Final boarding call for Dubai Flight 2847, the announcement echoed through the terminal. Thomas glanced at the gate, then back at them. "This has been illuminating, but we have a flight to catch." "I don't think so," came DCI Hayes' voice from behind them. Alex turned to see Hayes and Okonkwo approaching, flanked by armed officers. Around the terminal, travelers were being quietly ushered away, the area clearing rapidly. "Thomas Vale, Victoria Hartwell," Hayes said formally, "you're both under arrest for conspiracy to pervert the course of justice, harassment, stalking, and attempted murder. You do not have to say anything, but it may harm your defense if you do not mention when questioned something which you later rely on in court." Victoria's face crumpled, all her cold composure dissolving into tears. But Thomas's expression remained eerily calm as the officers moved forward with handcuffs. "You haven't won," Thomas said, looking directly at Alex. "You've just delayed the inevitable. People like you always fall eventually, and when you do, I'll be watching." "You'll be in prison," Marcus said coldly, "for a very long time." As the officers led them away, Alex felt Marcus's arm around her waist, steadying her. She was shaking, she realized. Not from fear, but from the release of weeks of accumulated tension and terror. "It's over," Marcus whispered against her hair. "It's finally over." But as Alex watched Thomas and Victoria disappear through the security doors, she couldn't shake the feeling that Thomas's final words had been more than empty threats. She thought of Sienna Vale, still in psychiatric custody, of Emma Wright and Rebecca Chen, both facing criminal charges, of Julia Hartwell, dead by Victoria's hand. How many lives had been destroyed by Thomas and Victoria's need for revenge, and how many others had they touched, influenced, set on dark paths? "Let's go home," she said to Marcus. Back at Alex's flat in Holborn, the afternoon sun streaming through the windows felt like a benediction. Sophie and Natasha had returned from Scotland Yard, where they'd given their own statements about the night's discoveries. "It's really over?" Sophie asked, pouring wine for all of them despite the early hour. "The arrests have been made," Alex confirmed. "Hayes says they have enough evidence to charge both Thomas and Victoria with multiple felonies. The fabricated evidence against Marcus has been officially dismissed. The arrest warrant is void." Natasha raised her glass. To surviving absolute hell, they drank, and Alex felt the wine burn down her throat, warm and grounding. She looked around at her friends. Sophie, brilliant and loyal, who'd spent nights tracing digital breadcrumbs to save them. Natasha, fierce and protective, who'd never wavered in her support. And Marcus, who'd stood beside her through every nightmare, who'd faced false accusations and threats with unwavering courage. "I need to say something," Alex said quietly. The others looked at her, waiting. Victoria was right about one thing. "I never thought about the people on the other side of my cases. I won, and that was enough. I never considered the real human cost of my victories." "Alex," Marcus started, but she held up her hand. "Let me finish. What she and Thomas did was wrong. Criminal. Unforgivable. But I can't pretend I don't understand where some of that pain came from. I destroyed Victoria's mother in that courtroom. Not intentionally, not maliciously, but I did it nonetheless, and I never looked back." "You were doing your job," Sophie said firmly. "You can't take responsibility for how people react to losing a case." "Can't I?" Alex met her friend's eyes. "We all make choices about how we practice our professions. I chose to be ruthless, brilliant, uncompromising, and those choices had consequences I never acknowledged." Marcus moved to sit beside her, taking her hand. "What are you saying?" "I'm saying I want to be better," Alex said. "I want to win cases because I'm right, not just because I'm good at destroying the opposition. I want to think about the human beings involved, not just the legal arguments. Victoria and Thomas were monsters, but they were created, at least in part, by people like me who never stopped to consider collateral damage." Natasha set down her wine glass. "That's very noble, Alex, but don't let them make you doubt yourself. You're one of the best barristers in London because you're fierce and uncompromising. Don't lose that." "I won't," Alex promised. "I'll just be more conscious about when and how I deploy it." Sophie and Natasha left as evening approached, giving Alex and Marcus privacy. The flat felt too quiet after weeks of constant crisis and fear. "What happens now?" Marcus asked, standing at the window where he'd stood so many times during this ordeal, looking out at the city. Alex moved to join him, sliding her arms around his waist from behind. "Now we live. We go back to work. We have normal problems like whose turn it is to do the washing up." He turned in her arms, his hands coming up to frame her face. "I love you," he said simply. "I've loved you through all of this, and I'll love you through whatever comes next. Even if I become a softer, gentler barrister who considers people's feelings," she teased. "Especially then," he murmured, lowering his mouth to hers. The kiss started gentle but quickly deepened, weeks of fear and tension transmuting into desperate need. Alex pulled him toward the bedroom, their clothes leaving a trail across the floor. In the fading sunlight, they came together with fierce urgency. Marcus's hands mapped her body like he was memorizing every curve, every hollow. When he entered her, Alex gasped at the intensity of sensation and emotion, relief and desire and love all tangled together. They moved together with desperate rhythm, Marcus's mouth finding her breasts, his hands gripping her hips. Alex arched beneath him, her nails digging into his shoulders as pleasure built and built. "I love you," she gasped as he thrust deeper. "God, Marcus, I love you." His response was lost in her mouth as he kissed her, and they tumbled over the edge together, bodies shaking with release and relief. Afterward, lying tangled in sheets with Marcus's heartbeat steady beneath her ear, Alex felt something she hadn't experienced in weeks. Peace. "Do you think it's really over?" Marcus asked quietly. "Or will there be another threat, another enemy we didn't see coming?" Alex considered the question honestly. "I don't know," she admitted. "Thomas and Victoria are in custody, but they touched so many lives, manipulated so many people. There could be others out there, others they influenced or inspired." "That's a terrifying thought." "It is," she agreed. "But we faced this together, and we survived. Whatever comes next, we'll face that too." Marcus tightened his arms around her. "Promise me something. Anything. Promise me no more secrets. No more trying to protect each other by pushing away. We tell each other everything, no matter how hard." Alex lifted her head to look at him. "I promise, no more secrets." Her phone buzzed on the nightstand. Alex ignored it, but it buzzed again and again. With a sigh, she reached for it, expecting messages from Sophie or Natasha checking in. Instead, she found 3 texts from an unknown number. The first was a photograph, Thomas and Victoria being led through Heathrow in handcuffs, clearly taken by someone in the crowd. The second message read, "You think this is over. How naive." The third made her blood run cold. Thomas and Victoria were useful, but they were never the real threat. "I've been watching you for much longer than 3 years, Alexandra. And unlike them, I'm patient. I can wait. But know this, everything you love, everyone you care about, will be taken from you. Not today, not tomorrow, but soon. And when it happens, you'll finally understand what it means to lose everything. Sleep well, Alexandra. I'll be seeing you." Alex's hands were shaking as she showed Marcus the messages. His face went pale as he read them. "Who?" he started, but his voice failed. Alex was already calling Detective Okonkwo, her mind racing through possibilities. Someone else, someone they hadn't identified, someone who'd been watching all along, using Thomas and Victoria as pawns just as they'd used Emma and Rebecca and Sienna. How deep did this conspiracy go? And who else was out there, waiting in the shadows? As the phone rang, Alex looked at Marcus and saw her own fear reflected in his eyes. They'd survived one nightmare, only to discover it had been a prelude to something darker. The real game, it seemed, was just beginning.
Thanks for watching our stories. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more epic adventures. Thanks for watching our stories. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more epic adventures.